Peace and blessings, and welcome back to Bodybuilding for Brass Players. I am Umvikeli G. Scott Jones, and today I have the distinct pleasure, the honor, the opportunity to be interviewing a dear brother of mine, Dr. Joseph Lee Jefferson, who is the assistant professor of trombone and euphonium and the director of jazz studies at Southeast Missouri State University. So I'm going to have him talk for a bit in a minute here, introducing himself, but something I want to say as a little background. So myself, there was at West Virginia University, there were three of us, Black men getting our doctorates in musical arts at the same time under Dr. Keith Jackson. So I started first, and then after me came Joseph Jefferson, and then Emmett Goods. And in the future, I hope to have Emmett Goods on this series also. So it was just a significant time in all three of our lives, and we've all gone in our different directions, and we're pursuing life and all that wonderful stuff. But it's just an honor to have you back. To have you on this series, brother, and and I thank you for doing this interview. So
Absolutely.
Go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're from, anything you want to share.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, G. Scott, for having me up here, man. This has been really great to see your matriculation in terms of with this platform, and just really offering another opportunity to kind of speak about brass pedagogy as well as overall health. So thanks so much for having me up here today. Like Scott said, I am Joseph Jefferson from the very small town of Jarrett, Virginia, about maybe 50-60 minutes south of Richmond, Virginia. And I am a trombonist. I play trombone. And currently I am here in Southeast Missouri. Before this, I had an appointment at Treasure Valley Community College. That was my first job, my first full-time tenure track job. And then I was assistant professor of music, director of jazz studies at University of Portland in Portland, Oregon. And now I am here. And so it's just been quite a whirlwind, just in terms of where music has taken me, the amount of things that I've been so blessed and fortunate to do, the amount of students that I've been able to interact and meet from different backgrounds, different social economic statuses. It's just been a fantastic learning opportunity throughout this. And so that's it about me. Is there something else you want in particular?
No, that's good. That's good. So we'll get into some more as we go through the interview. So
Right.
First question I wanted to ask you is, tell us about what you're doing now in your current position. Tell us about your studio, the direction you're building for your studio classes, the direction of the jazz program, stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I came here, I kind of inherited a kind of desolate trombone studio. I had one student, and that student left, and so I really had to hit the ground running and make sure not only that I have a studio so that I can do the thing that it is that I like to do in terms of working with trombone and euphonium students, but I also have to make sure that you have enough instruments to satisfy the bands that are in the program. And so it's been a really intense 3 years. I just finished my third year here, and in the fall I'll have 11 students in the studio. It's great to have that. The numbers for the studio and the interest for the studio is up, as well as the two jazz ensembles that were lower in numbers when I got here. Now both of those are maxed out. So it's a really good thing that there's an interest of what's going on. Students seem to enjoy the energy and the space that I try to cultivate here, and as well as it gives me an opportunity to learn these students, because these students are different from other students that I've taught. And so just in terms of building culture, building community, kind of exposing students to some different things, and just trying to really create and build something in this position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what connections, let's just dive into that. So with this series, what I'm really trying to do is build the connections between the world of brass practice and fitness and health. And what connections do you draw between, the importance of staying in shape, of taking care of your body physically, and staying in shape as a trombone player?
I think it's super important for me. Now, I know everybody has their different views on this, but for me, if I'm in shape physically, mentally, that helps so much when I go to the horn and I start applying it to the horn, just in terms of air, in terms of breath. Me personally, I'm working out every day, either if it's weight training, which I try to do at least 4 times a week. And then I cycle as well. That's something that I got into when I was living in Idaho. So I think that's, for me, it's a very important part of my space. It really also, as you know, in addition to the physical, the great things that happens physically in terms of working out and taking care of your health, the mental piece is extremely important as well, because as you know, as a musician, every day we are not necessarily starting from scratch, but we're constantly working, we're constantly scraping, we're constantly trying to improve on where we were the previous day. So being able to have that opportunity every day when I wake up to just mentally focus and kind of de-stress. So when I go into the environment of touching the horn, for me, it makes things so much better. And that's the first thing I do in the morning. I get we get the kids together, we get them off and we get them to school. And then I go I'm either weight training or I'm hitting the bike. And that's the first thing I do prior to, hitting the horn. And that just really kind of sets me up in my day. It really puts me in a great space throughout my day, and just in terms of navigating the various challenges that I have throughout the day in terms of as a teacher, as a performer, as a lifelong student. And as a parent and as a family man. So that really helps me so much in terms of that.
Yeah. Just to go off, kind of throw a curveball at you. You're talking about challenges. Can you give us an example of some of the challenges you might encounter that working out in the morning and getting that practice session? And can you give us a couple examples of those challenges that you face?
What do you mean by in terms of the challenge of working out, getting up or having?
No. I mean, once you get to work, like, can you tell us, once you get to work, the challenge that you're able to face better because of having that workout in the morning or having that?
Absolutely. I set up the past 3 years. I've had an 8 to 10 block in the morning. That's really all about trombone practice, breathing, fundamentals, all of those things that we do. And I've really been this summer, or not this summer, but during COVID, I've been really trying to develop some different ways that I might be able to be more productive. But for me, when I get up, I hit the weights, I do my buzz session, I do my breathing session, I'm stretching. That sets me up. So when I get into the office, I'm ready to go. It's not like I'm coming in and I haven't touched the horn, or I haven't done anything to get up, or I'm relying on that 1 cup of coffee to kind of get me together. I want to be as prepared as I possibly can be for the first student that I see. Not necessarily the first student that walks in my office, but the first student that I see coming on campus. I want to be in a space that I can greet them. I can be, happy, and I can be productive in the morning. I've really found that if I don't get started, and maybe this is something that's happening me the older that I'm getting, if I'm not getting started early and getting things done, my whole day seems to just not flow. There's never a day, unless there's something I have to do with the family, where I'm like not touching the horn till 2 o'clock in the evening. Like that gives me anxiety. That gives, I mean, me personally, I'm trying to touch the horn by 7 a.m.
Okay.
I'm trying to have that after my workout's done for me, because I want to set up how I want my day to go. I want my day to be set up with, mental health, fitness, family, and the thing that I do, which is trombone. And so that sets me up for my entire day so that I can be the best version of me throughout my day, throughout as a teacher, as a friend, and as a person.
Okay. I mean, that definitely answers the question there. Let's see here. So when we're talking about a buzz session, why is it important? So it's kind of two questions here. Why is it important to focus on the buzz? And then can you give us some examples of what you do during that buzz session?
Well, I started just really putting over this, I've always buzzed, and I've always, found that to be an essential part of my regimen and my daily diet in terms of trombone and euphonium preparedness. But I think over this COVID break, I've really started to refine and figure out how much of it I really need.
Okay.
Because there's been different times where I've obsessed, I've did a little too much, I didn't do enough when I'm listening to my sound and different things. So I think it's about finding that sweet spot. And for me, it's 3 minutes. And that is, me doing different chromatic things, me doing sweeps, me doing some free buzzing in terms of, working on range and the quality of sound, and just making sure that I'm sustaining down in my stomach muscles. But for me, when I can buzz and when I can have a clear buzz and a resonant, warm buzz, when I go to the horn, it's just kind of there. Maybe even if other things might not be working at that time, that's the second thing of the day that I do. The first thing of the day that I'm doing is I'm breathing. I'm breathing for about 2 minutes, and I'm using this when I'm breathing, and I'm just trying to really make sure that I'm getting the air moving. This is nothing more than a piece of PVC pipe that I'm using. I'm stretching, and then I buzz, and I just found that really gets me set up for when I'm doing my long tones. I'll probably go to the piano. Tanked out right there. Yeah. But I would normally do things like that in those little middle to lower registers, and then I'll start looking maybe around B flat 3 to B flat 4. And I'll do those sorts of things. I might add a little bit of resistance with something like this. Okay. And those sorts of things really kind of get things working. So when I go to the horn, I'm kind of a little, I'm pretty warmed up. And so now the way that I've kind of set up my warm up, if you will, the first 20-minute session is breathing, buzzing for 3 minutes, long tones, flexibility, tonguing. That's what I'm doing my first 20 minutes in my first 20-minute section. And that's how I've been, breaking up my practice session. Like I said, I'm refining something new. I'm not going to kind of divulge that yet because I'm working on something. But for me, doing that, getting the horn out of my hand, I feel like another thing that's crucial. Sometimes we keep the horn in our hand and we don't realize that sometimes we're tensing up. Sometimes it's good to put the horn on the stand. Allow yourself to kind of be comfortable with that session that you just did, and then hop back into it. But I found that it just really makes my tone a little bit sweeter. It makes my sound a little bit resonant. There are, far greater players than me that don't believe in buzzing. And there's people that do believe in a little bit of buzzing, but for me and for what works for me, that works for me. And that's something that I definitely make sure that my students are subscribing to and trying to understand it. Even if it doesn't work for them, I want them to understand it because they might have a student that it's really beneficial for.
Right. So that way they're getting multiple perspectives and not just thinking there's one size that fits all.
Absolutely, because that's truly not it. I'm very fortunate. My master's was in pedagogy, and so just I really look for different things and different challenges that I've had in my playing to kind of carve out and kind of think of different ways. How can I reach this student? And I've been very blessed and very fortunate to have so many different students from so many different walks of life, so many different experiences. So it's really kind of helped me to become a better teacher and to kind of think differently about approaches instead of just saying, I do it like this, you should do it like this. That doesn't work.
Right.
I would hate for anybody to teach that way because, every student does not learn the same. So, but I do want them to be aware of this concept because I do find it beneficial for what we do.
Yeah. There's something else you were saying about putting the horn down. And I think if we think about that in terms of working out, if you think about that set, thinking of organizing yourself in terms of sets, having the first set, taking that rest period, whether it's 5 minutes or however long, and then coming back and having a different set that carries right over into what we do. Like just a little bit about me, when I was an undergrad, I took some advice from someone that I wish I hadn't, and it was to take to pick up the horn and practice like a 50-minute solo, just improvising over and over, and I developed serious problems from that that I have probably for the rest of my life. So that's great advice.
I have a practice packet that I really recommend to my high school students as well as my freshmen. I have my freshmen do it, and it's something that I developed probably my first year here, just because, as I was getting my feel for the lay of the land here, practice time was very limited. It was my practice method, 6-20-24, 6 practice sessions, 20 minutes in length within 24 hours. But you're normally getting that throughout your business day. But I found, and I specifically put in there, stop.
Yeah.
Get the horn off the face. I mean, we know, in grad school, sometimes we just kept pounding and, just kept doing it. And I think that there's some merit in terms of don't play until it hurts. But I think there is some merit in pushing yourself, just like in lifting weights. You have to know how far you can go until you're at the point where you're creating harm to yourself. But absolutely. And maybe this is the thing that came with age. I will put the horn down and walk away from the horn and then come back. And my perspective is a little bit better. Other than if there's one rhythm or this one challenging part that I just keep hammering out and I look up and it's 40 minutes. And that's happened. I have a big timer, man. I have a big clock. I don't know if you've looked at my Instagram. I have this huge clock and it lights up red and then it cuts off. And when it cuts off, I'm done for that session. I put the horn down. I wish I thought I really had nobody to really break it down. But once again, it's about figuring out what works for you. It's very individualized because some cats can sit down and say, oh, I can go and I can do it for this amount of time and be okay. But you got to figure out what works for you. And that's what has worked for me.
Great. So speaking of what works for you, one of the things I definitely wanted to get into, at least briefly with this interview, and one of the things I've always admired about you since the moment we've met is that you have a very polished presence that you put out in the world. Like if you see a picture, you know, and definitely audience members, check out Dr. Jefferson's Instagram and check out his social media and everything in his website. We'll put a link to that in the description. But how do you approach this whole, you know, making sure that everything you put out there is it's very well defined, it's very well polished? How much time, or do you have a concept you developed that, you know, helps you with that?
Well, I just, I mean, this all goes back to going to an HBCU, man. We were kind of ingrained with, being the best versions of ourselves, and just really being confident, being respectful, and just trying to put out the best possible product that we can do. By no means everything that I put out is the best, but I try to put out my best. And my best version of me at that moment. And I think that's critical, that we do that, especially at this day and age with, social media being so prominent. It's extremely important about the things that you put out, because that's what people are doing. People are looking at you. I might post some practice things on my Instagram if I'm working on something, but, I'm not posting all of that stuff, because sometimes you got to put in that work. I want to put in that work in private. Right. And then when I present, I'm presenting, showcasing that work. But I think in terms of the stuff that I put out, I just want it to be clean. I want it to be welcoming. I want it to be taken serious. And this is a career. This is something that you and I, Scott, have put a lot of time into. We've devoted hours. I don't know if you remember the time when we were at West Virginia and we drove overnight to go to, what was it, Moorhead, check out horns. Like we were like, exhausted. I mean, we sacrifice a lot of time and a lot of energy for this, and it's become such a major part of our life. So I think we should hold it in that regard as well when we do this. And so I'm very, I like to be very particular about the stuff that I post. I want it to be of good quality. Also, I had, it needs to be representative of the work that I can do at that current moment as I'm continually striving to get better, as well as be representative of, the university, the university that I work at, because it's no longer just about me, it's my family, all of those things. So I think all of that stuff kind of plays a part to it. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily strategic or anything like that, but I definitely know what kind of career I want to cultivate. And what I need to do those sorts of things. And so I focus my energy and my efforts towards improving myself and doing those things and showcasing those things on my website and on Instagram per se. I hope that answers your question.
That does. Cool, man. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually put in links also to videos of your playing also.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess that really wraps up most of what I want to talk about. So, I mean, one of the things I definitely want to just restate to audiences is just this concept and how important it is that you said about finding out what works for you and doing it, and not being stuck in one box, and also just breaking up the practice session. That's valuable wisdom for young people coming up who are trying to figure out how do you schedule in all this time. When you break it up with that strategy, that's great. Can we get that practice packet or package from you?
Absolutely.
Share?
On my website, all you do is go to instruction, and then there's a pedagogy drop down.
Okay.
And so I've actually just created some new buttons up there. You can go up there and you can open up those packets. I have 3 packets up there now. I'm about to upload a 4th one. I just did an articulation one.
Okay.
That's up there. But yeah, the practice packet is up there. Also, I have a building fluidity, like a jazz basics package up there. And I'm I got this new one that I presented in Texas. It's called Getting Warm. It's like a warm-up packet. A good 20 minutes and get you in and out to kind of get things happening. Of my favorite exercises that help get me warm in terms of the horn. So, I definitely, give credit to those people who have created these exercises. And kind of all of these exercises are kind of now merging together. They're variations of everything, it either comes from Remington, Schlossberg, Marstella, it comes from those things. And people have created variations, and it's been very helpful. But absolutely, there's a link up there. I'll try to put those things up there for my students. And for anyone, and anything that I put up there, it's stuff that I'm using. Like I said, when I take time to do this type of stuff, Scott, I really wish if I could talk to 20-year-old me, if I was thinking about doing the stuff that worked for me. And I've been very blessed. I've been very fortunate to have some amazing opportunities as a performer and some fantastic mentors and traveled so much. But now I kind of figure like I just kind of feel like I'm kind of getting in my stride and figuring out what works for me, what works for my body. As I get older, I realize that different things change. My equipment most certainly definitely has changed since graduate school, just in terms of things that I was doing in graduate school. I might have been playing things that were a lot bigger. Now I've kind of, my key now is efficiency. What can I be most efficient on and still get the best quality of sound throughout that? And so I think finding out what works for you, also being willing to step away and give yourself an opportunity to learn from the session. One of the hardest things is when you're practicing, if you don't have a moment to reflect on what it is that you've practiced and you just keep going, you don't necessarily know how you can improve or you can advance on that. And something that's been really important for me over the past couple of years is mental practice. Going through things, because as brass players, man, we have metal right on our face, right on our chops, and so we got to get that blood flowing. And so mental practice has been extreme. Of course, you got to get the hours. You got to get the hours. I got this banner over here. It says put in the hours. I saw that online and I was like, man, I got to get that. You got to put in the hours. But I also think that there's other ways that we can be quite effective in our preparation. If it's mental preparation, if it's working on page turns, because now I'm playing a lot with electronic, practicing those things. That's critical. Yep.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, that pretty much wraps up everything I wanted to ask you about. So thank you again for doing this. This is the 3rd interview in the series. And I'm sure at some point in the future, we're going to have you back on to talk about some other stuff. So thank you again, my brother, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and so audience members, please, I hope this video has been helpful to you. Please send a shout out to Dr. Jefferson. Feel free to find him and send him an email, contact with him. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave us a question, comment, concern. And until next time, thanks for checking out Bodybuilding for Brass Players. Peace.